Yes, that is a tap that never wants to be fixed permanently. We can call it the curse tap that always wants to lick and finds a way. Very not good. Let me know if you've got one of those taps. Because you know there's other taps you see they travel along before. But then there's these curse goddamn taps. But anyway, while I'm in the shower, I was just having a think to myself. While I get back to myself, listening to a song before my internet connection here in Australia malfunctioned. And I got the round world round and round. As I talked about previously, and I don't need to talk about too much more, I want to put up my point about the internet connections and hackers and all that bullshit. So I thought I'm going to have a chat about bodies and how humans have a little bit of 50-50 DNA or not. So we're talking about male DNA and female DNA. And now this area has also got to do with bisexuals and gay people and all that kind of stuff, right? And the world of random and mixture, right? To get everything to sort of fit in the end, right? And so I was just looking at myself and I talked about certain things about my skin and stuff like that. And I noticed it when I changed my diet and I put on weight, all that kind of stuff. I've been looking at it a little bit more lately. And so I'm going to have a chat about it when it comes to these genes. Now I've talked about it with the doctor before. When it comes to a lump on my chest, certain things that I worry about as it wasn't normal, as they would say. Now when it comes to a man body and a woman body, we know that I'll have to quickly explain this so you get the rest. We know that a man body particularly means you're really, really manly, the manly side as they call it now. You can call it more ape side, and the women's side more the extra DNA, the changing kind of thing, but it mixes. But we'll just go, let's talk about the man and woman. So we've got the man, and a man represents, as they like to talk about, they talk about these areas, is that they grow big, they're big, right? Big man, strong man. They like to, they have, we'll just talk about body until I talk about the mind and all that stuff. So a man is big, they're hairier. He's hair on the chest, right? So usually typically have more hair, they're more manly, right? Their muscles will be big, they get big muscles easy, that's usually the bigness. They have a bigger junk, as that makes them more manly, right? As that area doesn't hurt because the other area they ran into can always change, right? But they can't go back. Certain areas, maybe a little bit, like pregnancy. Talk about that amongst yourselves if you don't know about it. But yeah. So a man's like that, man, right? And a woman, and they've got tough, thick skin, a man, right? And gentle voices. And can yell out. Right? And then you got a woman. That's pretty much basic. Then we got a woman. A woman, and they've got a man has a junk downstairs that's annoying, and nothing at the top where they need to carry things and stuff like that. A pair of tits would be in the way, right? So evolution changed things around a little bit. And then we got a woman. We get a woman. And a woman is typically small, right? They will save on resources in case the man can't be the man, right? And occasionally it can happen. And so if you're looking after something the man wants to typically do, is that come a woman, then you've got a story in the Bible about one out of red to make the woman. And after all that, we just keep on going about the woman. Now a woman, they have, they're smaller, typically smaller, they have lesser muscles. They are more petite, means they've got softer skin. What else? And they've got the lumps at the top. And they have to house. The man don't have to house them. Women have to house the next generation for continue. Right? And so they have wider hips. And they need less energy. And when a man eats, he needs a lot of energy. And he can eat a lot, so he needs a lot usually to sustain that body. Where a woman, they don't need that much. They need less energy. And when when a man typically eats, it goes to their gut, you hear about a lot around that area. They burn it off quite quickly than a man is a big thing. Where a woman, they'll gain weight easy, it goes more to their top area, around their bum, hips area where they create children, and typically get that, and get that easier than men, doing the same thing because of the bodies. And their skin's weaker, they can be hurt in the man with the tougher skin. So we've defined pretty much the woman, what a woman is, and what a man is. And then they get along, and then they have duties, and over time you become something else because of duties. So let's talk about duties. And a man's duty because of what he's got, or because of what he was doing, particularly would be best at certain lifting areas, hunting, because when he gets attacked he doesn't get hurt so much. And so he'll be better off in these duties. A man's brain thinks differently. It wants to move. It either doesn't want to move or it wants to move quickly. And it moves in a fluent, what it's already thought about, it pre-prepares, like hunting would do. When you scan a man's brain, it's going to quickly run down. So you try to see, you get you to understand it a bit, to get you to the next step. And a woman has a bigger frontal lobe, and when they scan their brains and they ask some questions, they scatter everywhere. They go, and they get a little confused because they usually, in their life, looking after things, and particularly more than one thing, have to multitask. So the brain is juggling around because typically you've got things going on all the time, or a man sitting there nice and quiet. And so over time, because of these duties, you get these brains, with the bodies. And then, over time again, you get the brains, what we're having at the moment, having battles about what they believe they should be. And some of them, they change, and they don't like to be what they are, and they believe that other people can be something. And it's true. But over time, our bodies show what we are, and we get what we get. And genetics also show how that works, right? And so we have a mixture of genetics. So we have a mixture of these men, so-called man-man. But then a man-man will come down to like a woman. And then we have another mixture of a woman. And then you have a mixture of a bigger woman, talks like a man, gets bigger muscles easier, and they call them tomboys and stuff like that. They even think like a man. Right? And because of genes, and some of them can be tall and still have the woman thing. Right? And that's because it's a genetic mixture. So we've got evolution, which is what I was talking about, with the bodies and what we are, what we become, how the minds think, right? And then you only get the reward and what you find out of what your reward of working together or what you live through with time, right? And those genetic changes, and we're up to where we are today. So I look at myself, and I get back to how did I come up to how I'm looking at myself. So once you know all that, then you look at yourself and you go, all right, what have I got? Because you can work out over time. It takes time. That's why it's always good before you get anyone to have any permanent changes, which I agree to. When it comes to people who believe they want to be a woman and all that going, you still got to see. You can be a woman that think like a man, but still be a woman, right? You don't have to completely change in some cases. In some cases, you're not, right? But other things, in most cases, you don't. And in most cases, you see out there, these people are still being what they are in their bodies. And can still function quite well. And some can and some can't. And so what you do is you look at yourself and your mind, your body, and you find out where that fits in. So at first I used to go to the doctors and go, oh, why does one side of my breast, everyone has tips, a little bit of tips when they go to grow or whatever. Why does one of them grow bigger than the other? Well, that's normal, that's genetics, but more bigger. Why do I get a lump? And that lump can come and go more than the other side, right? It sort of spreads out within that side like a woman's tip. It's spread out. It feels like it's big, body muscle. And it tends to get harder and bigger. Not too hard, but harder and bigger around that area. Right? And I got told in the end, it's breast tissue. Right? And so we go back to this genetics, you have flat chested and more pointier, right? So you can imagine with a woman, they're not so big, then more likely in the feminine area why they have breasts. They're not as feminine in that gene. Right? And we can be mixed, so you can be more feminine because you actually have more feminine genes. Right? Still in your body. You got lucky in that area if you like to be feminine, you should love what you are. Right? That's how the brain's meant to work, because if you're not, then you might start malfunctioning. Right? Because of the things around make you believe that you shouldn't, because of causes, all that kind of crap. And so, in the end, I found out why I got a problem, which it wasn't a problem, it was just a breast tissue problem. And so when I eat and gain weight, that side, the lump tends to, like it gets bigger, right? And because it's breast tissue, and when you eat for a woman on that side, it tends to go to that area more often, right? And so, I'm a person that when I work out, you look at me, I have more bigger prominent. They're not huge, just or anything, they're quite small. You can easily just push on them and they're flat. But they're more prominent. Some people are completely flat and it's got like a nipple and like nothing. With men and with women, right? And then with men with more woman gene, you can have more of that breast tissue that women tend to grow. And so I've got more of a, I'd say 30% roughly of a woman's breast tissue builder, right? Then the man with the flat chest that wouldn't have that at all. That's like 30% than what a woman would get growing tits with the fatness in the tits. You have someone who get bigger tits because they're fatness. The fat guy tends to like to grow in that breast tissue. And because of that, I'm more prone as a man to get breast cancer. Right? And so I worry about that side when I get pain and stuff like that, which I've had when I've talked about pain on my side. Right? It is that side that I'm talking about that used to give you pain right in that area. And I've complained about it throughout my life. Definitely from about 20 odd and up, roughly, when that area should have got maybe something. I found out something. Right? And I did hear about it when I was a kid. I just needed confirmation for certain areas of what is actually the problem. With the pain. And it can go cancerous, so you got to watch those areas more than other areas. Right? And so you look at your body, and I'll be looking at my body, and I go, what do I got genetically when it comes in? You can look at your parents. Sometimes it helps. You'll find that you'll have 50-50 or more, one side than the other. 20%, like I was just talking about, 30% and stuff. And you can work it out. I've done a little work out myself, I do it all the time. About what I've got from my dad, even back in their genetic line, you can find out about your great-granddads and grandmas and all that kind of stuff. And you can look through it yourself, and the best person to find out that information is actually yourself once you educate. People can try to do it for you, but it's best that you do it yourself because you don't know it. Right? And the more you can find out about them or around you, the more you can work these things out. And so I just want to talk about my body once again. I look at it, I go, look, I've got softer skin, more like a woman. Right? I've actually got so soft skin that Emma believes that my skin is softer than hers. But if you actually have similar skins, you might think that someone's softer, but you actually feel in your own as well, that you might not feel. Or they could be a little softer, all the same. Right? And so I believe that I've got more of a woman's skin. But it's more stronger and it has been since I was a kid. And also I do more manly things to help it stronger, so you can have that one. But I also noticed as I was a kid that my skin's like an ant, I wasn't as delicate when it comes to get cut and all that kind of stuff. Right? Taking Chinese brands more than what a girl can take at that age. Right? And so I've got feminine skin, but tough like a man, kind of thing. And then when it comes to the hair, I don't have much hair. Right? I've got hair on here, I've barely got hair on the chest, and stuff like that. My legs are very fine, you can hardly see. It's half of what you expect at least. And my hair is fine and like a woman's hair. So I've got that part. So I go, oh shit! But my hair's typically tougher because my hair don't fall out like a woman's hair. So I've got the mad side of that. Is what I more believe to have. I don't have to pick a course here. What else have I got when it comes to genetics between a man and a woman? I'm smaller, I didn't get the tallness. You can put that down as fibrosis. As people with cystic fibrosis can be typically 30% smaller than what they should have been. Right? Roughly something like that. They don't really confirm that, but there's a percentage that's typical because of cystic fibrosis. So you've got to add factors. And so I believe I would have been about the same height as my brother, because he's not too much bigger, if I just didn't have cystic fibrosis at that time. Could be cystic fibrosis or the genetics, but I can give it a reason with the knowledge that we know is fibrosis. What else? I think that's about it, I believe. Now when it comes to the mind, that's another way, again, it could be what you believe better when you grow up is what you're learning from your parents, which will be the manly and the woman side as they mainly are. You can become more like them because of things around you and what you believe to be like, because you're like them. Right? It's a little bit like how in Ice Age you should be a possum, she should be the elephant, right? And yet, she could have been a possum, but she can't really, because she went to an area where she can't hang on trees too well, and it doesn't work out. But she could have been a possum, but she is an elephant, and she's better off being the elephant, right? When it comes to genetic fitting, kind of thing. So people have the will to do anything, and animals do. And what I'm talking about here, animals have too. Right? And then when it comes to the thought, genetically, that's when you get the, and you can't get it, it's not brought into the education much around you, how to find out it's genetic. Well, they'll naturally have it, and they'll be, you'll find traits that just come out of nowhere, right? There was no education to that field or anything, and they believe that they're thinking another different way or want to be another different way. I think that's about it. I can't stay in the shower too much longer, so I'm going to leave it there. I hope that helps out about how we use it. Right here about these, all these pronouns and stuff like that. You can pretty much put pronouns into these areas, right? But you don't need as much as you believe you need when it comes to these pronouns, I believe. You can just admit things more differently, right? And perhaps we can have certain colours or something like that that can help us out to identify certain things to become new. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation that I'm thinking about trying to work out how to connect all these things instead of just getting rid of them, because you always got to try hard first for connection and what you know and believe you can work out and test before you make a permanent decision for application. Anyway, have a good one. Let me know what you believe your plant, if you've learnt anything from this clip. See you later.